Hello and welcome back. So, I surprised myself and actually recorded in Milan a vlog for Brussels. So, here is me in Milan telling you about Brussels. Enjoy. Hello from Milan! So, we have made it through Egypt, we have made it through Belgium, and we are now nestled in the foothills. I don't know. We're in Milan. I tried to think of something creative and clearly did not come up with anything. So we are in Milan, Italy. We just got back from Verona and Venice. But today I'm going to talk about Belgium. I want to go ahead and just get that done so you guys can be kept up with our glorious journey before our glorious journey turns into one over the ocean to America. So we were in Belgium from, let me think. We were there for 4 full days. We got there on the 4th of July, and we stayed until the 8th. So on the 4th, we flew in from Cairo, which was just a blast. It was a very early morning, so we flew Luxor to Cairo, and then Cairo to Brussels, the main Brussels airport. And then Robert's business partner person, Dan, he picked us up from the airport and, took us through the metro. They have a very, legitimate public transportation situation in Belgium. So we took, a metro to a tram to a train to a metro. It's very nice. We got to see a whole part of the city. Apparently it's very large. It's separated into, Flanders and then the French quarter. So it's, people who speak Dutch and people who speak French. There's a lot of animosity, I believe, between the two. But we stayed with Dan and Arnaud, his husband. It was lovely. They absolutely love getting, quirky gifts for, all their wedding presents were these, quirky vases and stuff that you would see in, an estate sale from someone from the 1800s. It's all just very strange. So, our bedspread was a wedding present, and it was, the My Little Pony unicorns on the bedspread. So that was nice. But Dan took it upon himself to outfit us with a full itinerary, a full day of travel. So we dropped all of our stuff off, and then we immediately went and met with Arnaud and got a big dinner. It was delicious. Oh, not really a dinner. We snacked on some lunch, but then Arnaud walked around with us. We saw where he worked. We saw some main sites in Belgium. Then we went to a classic Brussels dinner. I got a filet because I was quite famished. Robert was still recovering from his food poisoning, so he just got something normal. Their main dish is this thing called voulez-vous. I don't remember how to say it. It's French, but it's delicious. It's like cream of chicken. It's like chicken and dumplings, but with mushrooms instead of dumplings. Delicious, might I say. So I got that every other night because it was so good. But they also have mussels there. Not these bad boys. But the clam mussels. And I do not like those. And the smell is strange. Their national side dish is French fries with mayonnaise. And so at one point during the 4 days we were there, we stopped at the French fry stand, the number one in the country or whatever. And Dan was like, you have to try it with this mayonnaise. I'm like, no, I do not actually have to try it with the mayonnaise at all. But the first night they have a very interesting sense of humor, and so Arnaud was like, you guys have to watch this movie. It's so funny. And so we watched it, and it was super weird. It was a movie that film students did as their final project, but it was in the 90s, 80s-ish, and it was in black and white, and there were subtitles, and it was a documentary following a serial killer, but following the serial killer. So as he killed people, they were filming it, and he'd be like, help me move the body. So they dragged the body away. They ended up being accomplices. I don't know. They all died. It was very strange, but he thought it was hilarious. And then the next day we went to all over Belgium. All over Brussels. We saw a bunch of sights. It was beautiful weather. I mean, just stunning. We got to see, this was on the 5th, we got to see a lot of, we saw the Royal Palace, and we saw this, big domed building that's, where a bunch of people work, but it's been under construction for like 30 years. Like Arnaud grew up in Brussels and he has never once seen the dome because it's been in scaffolding. It's like this big kerfluffle where like the federal government was like, we'll do this, like we'll restore it. It's like very important to Belgium. And then the local government was like, get your hands off of our stuff. That's a Brussels landmark. And then they fought about it and then they came to an agreement, but all the scaffolding at that point was like rotting out. So they could not keep it anymore. So we saw that. We don't remember where we ate lunch, but Dan had like different places he was like, we have to see this. We were power walking. I think we averaged 9 miles a day, in the 4 days we were there. So at least to say, Robert and I were downright exhausted by the end of each day, just like ready to kerplunk down. But the second night we were there, Dan just said like, oh, like, what are you hungry for? And I did not wait for Robert to tell him what he was hungry for, given he still felt a little ill, so it was up to me. So I said, oh, dumplings. I want pork dumplings because we don't have pork in Saudi, and that's what I want. So we went and we like got some of their favorite Japanese food. Delicious. And then we had told him the first night about Cards Against Humanities and how much fun it was. And so Dan had like same day Amazoned it and it had gotten there that night. So we ate in the house with our to-go Japanese food. I'm sure my dad is like rolling at the fact that we ate inside their apartment and didn't do anything in Brussels nightlife. Japanese food. And then stayed and hung out in the apartment in Brussels. Sorry, Dad. But it was fun, and we played Cards Against Humanities for like 4 hours. We played through every single black card, every single one. Like even the twofers, which is crazy because we don't like doing the twofers. We played through all of them. It was they were like cackling. It was and the stuff that they thought was funny made us laugh because it like really like some of it was funny, some of it wasn't. English is Arnaud's third language. It's Dan's second or third, so it was really funny to watch them. It's just always great to play with people who don't speak English. But they ended up having to buy the French version as well because they were like, oh, our friends would love this, but none of them speak English. So I'm like, oh, sorry. Enjoy. So they got like all of it all over again in English, or in French, I mean. And then the next day we went to Ghent, G-E-N-T or G-H-E-N-T. It's a medieval village, downright adorable, such a cute spot. And there was this big church that we went in, and we were so excited to go into it. And the guy was like, oh, it's, a butt ton of money. And we were like, that's fine. It's a beautiful church. And then it was a Salvador Dali exhibit. Like, they covered everything in the church with, like, these. It was actually cool had it not been, like, covering what I wanted to see. It was, like, these big projector screens, and it was just showing Salvador Dali's art, like, on a rotation as if you were looking at it through a kaleidoscope. It was confusing. I don't much care for his art, if I'm being honest. It's unsettling. He's the one that, like, has, like, the droopy clock, if you were curious. So I don't much care for it. But we saw it anyway, and we paid an ungodly amount to see, like, a tiny little exhibit, or a room of an exhibit. It wasn't tiny. But anyway, we went there. We went to a bunch of different churches. There was a medieval castle that we saw, which was spectacular. It was not for a reason. They just had the money and decided to do it. It was a very wealthy medieval village. So they had, like, Ghent has this, like, ongoing rivalry between these two candy stands. And it's the same candy. I don't remember what they're called. But they're, like, little triangles, but they're only, like this tall. And they have, like, juice in the middle. So it's like if you were eating... It's like a Turkish delight, a little thicker than a Turkish delight with juice in the middle. Not really juice, but like goo, like jelly. And they're very rich in flavor, very sweet. It's like eating a cough drop, but not a delicious cough drop. So there's two stands, and they fight. And if one day, like if one person gets more and the other person doesn't or something, occasionally the opposing cart will end up like in the river across from, like, the cart stand, like, the candy stands. So they have, like, this rivalry, and it's, like, in the Post, like, or in the newspaper, the local newspaper, because it's, like, a big rivalry, which I think is hilarious. But so, of course, I was like, guys, we have to try both. And they're like, no, it's the same. Like, it's not the same. Like, it's not the same. So we got it, and we ended up, I was like, all right, savor it. Like, you have to try the same flavor from both places. And they were like, wow, you know what? One is, like, less juicy than the other one. I'm like... I'm telling you, like, I got the sixth sense of Flavor Flav.
So we ended up liking the man's stall more than we liked the woman's stall, which was annoying. Everyone was rooting for the woman, but hers were just not juicy enough. Anyway, it was still delicious, regardless of the fact that it was made by a man. Ugh. We looked for me for a hat. Still didn't find one, alas. But let's see. We walked around Ghent. The next day we went to... Oh, that night we had pizza, and it was delish. But it was like Pisano pizza. It was not as good as Pisano, obviously. But it was still pretty good. It was like their favorite to-go pizza place. The next day we went to Antwerpen. We didn't like it as much. It was much bigger of a city. I did get new luggage because my wheel broke off in Cairo, as you guys know. So instead of dragging my luggage around, I did get a new piece of luggage. It was on sale. Let me think. That's it, pretty much. We walked around Antwerp and just really enjoyed the sights. It was also, excuse me, technically a medieval village. They built the train station, the main train station, thinking that all trade ever would come through Antwerp. But alas, it did not. So they built this big train station for nothing.
As you've heard, we had a lovely time in good old Brussels, Belgium. With Dan and Arnaud. Their hospitality was very much appreciated. Here are the few pictures we took. We had such a good time, we didn't even need to take pictures. So here you go. Enjoy. Thanks for watching.
For a second, I could see. How do you gauge that?
Oh look, hundreds of bicycles.
Doing that drained my battery.
Oh look, a dog. Oh look, a dog.